So, welcome to tonight's webinar entitled How to Make Up to £1,000 per month on one property without buying it. Rent to Rent done properly, with myself, Mark Lloyd, co-founder of Property Master Academy, and Giuseppe Leone, our PMA Rent2Rent coach and mentor. Now, if you've not actually attended a webinar before, there's a couple of basic rules. Firstly, ask questions. On the right-hand side of your screen, you should have a question box. Type in anything there as we go along. If it's relevant to the point that we're discussing at the time, we will try and answer it, but otherwise we will have a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. And also take notes. Whilst we are recording the webinar, the recordings don't always come out that well, and it's always much more beneficial for you to write things down anyway as you take them in that. So please take notes to refer to later. Okay, got a bit of heavy breathing your end, Giuseppe.
Is it better?
That's better. So, brief introductions. So my name is Mark Lloyd and co-founder of Property Master Academy. Been in business for over 30 years now, half of that approximately in property. Bought my very first investment property round about 15 years ago overseas, followed by a property in the UK. And then a few years later, sold one of my businesses with my long-term business partner, Jackie, which is a telecommunications company, to do property full-time. And one of the things that kind of astounded us was there was very little knowledge around at the time, very little education that we could find out about. And we stumbled across a company called the Rich Dad Education, which some of you may have heard of, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Well, that was the brand that was represented in the UK. And we attended that in 2010 and were astounded about just did so many different ways you could actually make money in property. So from that, we started to build our portfolio. We were invited to join the Rich Dad mentoring team, and we left that after a couple of years, decided we just wanted to spend the time building our portfolio. We now have quite a large portfolio, and we started PMA with our third business partner, Peter, round about 5 years ago now, just to try and really condense a lot of the stuff that was out there, make things a little bit simpler to understand, but more importantly, to actually get people to do stuff, because a lot of people attend training courses but don't actually do things. So tonight's webinar is to help you to do stuff. I'm joined tonight by our one of our PMA mentors, but more specifically our Rent2Rent coach, Giuseppe Leone. Do you want to introduce yourself, Giuseppe?
Hi, good evening. My name is Giuseppe Leone, and I live and invest in Bristol, as you can clearly tell from my accent. On a serious note, after university, I joined an international oil company, and I worked for that company for 17 years. However, towards the end of my career in this company, I joined a 12-month mentoring program run by Property Master Academy, Mark and Jackie and Peter. And during that time, I first of all learned and mastered the rent-to-rent strategy, of which we are going to talk about today. But I also learned how to build my own portfolio of HMOs. If we fast forward everything to today, as of today, both my wife and I have left our corporate jobs. We are full-time investors. We run a very large rent-to-rent portfolio in Bristol. In fact, we have got this portfolio just in a couple of postcodes because we are very specific where we invest. And we also built a medium-sized HMO portfolio. And in fact, for one of those properties I bought years ago, I won the Property Investor Award in 2015, which is one of the pinnacle of my property career. So I'm really looking forward today to share some of my experience related to Rent2Rent, and I hope you will enjoy the presentation. and ask as many questions as you want to clarify your doubts. Over to you, Mark.
Okay, thanks, mate. So let's take a look. I think when you're looking at a strategy of any kind, doesn't matter what it is, it's good to have a target in your mind. And for a lot of people, £3,000 per month will replace your salary. And that's often the first target for everybody. It's they want to change what they're doing, get out of the job, get a different lifestyle, have more freedom. And £3,000 per month seems to be the magic figure. Yours may be less, maybe higher. But what I just want to show you very quickly is how you could do that within 12 months on this strategy. Now, whilst we haven't given you much detail just yet, let's just suppose it takes you 2 months to get your very first rent-to-rent property. Now, that's achievable with the right training and guidance. And let's just assume that property makes you £500 per month. Now you're going to see a little bit later on some of Giuseppe's properties actually make more than that. So we're a little bit conservative because you're all from different areas of the country, so we don't know the exact figures, but I would suggest that that's the minimum kind of figure anywhere in the country you would make. If you can then duplicate that effort, it takes you another 2 months. So we're now into month 4. Now I've got 2 properties, brings you up to £1,000 per month, £12,000 per annum. How much time are you having to put in? At this stage, probably not a great deal. Like with anything, the hard work is at the outset of each stage. So for your very first property, yes, there's going to be extra hours put in once you're getting it up and running. But once it's up and running, that workload will reduce. You can then put into property 2. If we do that again by month 6, we've now got 3 properties producing £1,500 per month, month 8, 2,000, all the way down to month 12, where we've now got 6 properties producing £3,000 per month. By this time, a lot of investors decide to make the jump from their job into property investing full time. It's not obligatory, you don't have to. But the good thing is, for a lot of you, this will mean financial freedom. So what do I mean by that? £3,000 per month for the majority of the population will cover your monthly expenses, your mortgage or your rent, your any credit card bills, your family subsistence, going out, money towards holidays. That will cover for most people their monthly expenses. So that gives you financial freedom, gives you the choice as to whether you continue with your job. And if you love your job, why not? In fact, we have got some of our mentees who do just that. They love their job to a degree, but what you usually find is once the income starts to increase above the £3,000 per month, that job is not loved so much anymore. So, there is the possibility there for you to actually change your life in the next 12 months. Is it easy? No, it's not. If it was, everybody would be doing this. But what is really, really important is that you understand the processes and you get some guidance to do it properly. There's no point in going off half-cocked on a little bit of information. Tonight, we're going to share with you one small snippet of the rent-to-rent strategy. Will require more learning. So that gives you an idea of what potentially could be achieved within 12 months. And if you follow this system, you could be achieving an annualized income of £144,000 per annum after just 3 years. That's just repeating this process over and over again. Okay, so a lot of money could be made there. Let's get on with the webinar. Over to you, Giuseppe.
Yep. So what is rent-to-rent? Rent-to-rent basically is a strategy that allows you to rent a property from a landlord and then renting it to other people who then live in the property, your customer. Just a second only, I just want to understand how to do it. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah, can see it.
Okay. Okay. So basically, a rent-to-rent is having control of a property without owning it. And that's the beauty of that. So you don't need to purchase a property. You don't need to have the money to purchase a property in order to control the property and get the cash flow out of it. So who are the players in this strategy? There is a landlord, and hopefully if you do a good job, you will allow the landlord to enjoy his or her life. So you really want the landlord to have what is the dream of every investor, which is having passive income. Yeah. So you invest in something, and then this something will give you the money to enjoy your lifestyle without needing to work on it. Then in the middle, that's you, the property manager. This is the person who needs to do the most of the job. You need to make sure that your landlord is able, as in this picture, to be on the beach, relax, and enjoy his investment. And on the right side, you have got your tenants. The tenants are the most important thing, in my opinion, in this strategy. A lot of people I've seen, they just focus on landlord and they forget about the tenants. I do exactly the opposite, because the people who are going to give you the money is your tenants. In fact, I don't call them tenants, I call them customers, because every business has got customers. And Rent2Rent is a business, and that's what we are going to teach you, how to run it as a proper business. Okay? So this strategy is for you if you have got a small amount of money. So most of the people want to go on the property ladder, but they cannot afford to purchase the first property. So this strategy is really good entry-level strategy that allows you, as I said before, to control the property and get the cash flow out of it. Yeah? And that's exactly what I did when I started working on this strategy. Then this strategy is for you if you want to have the option to change your day-to-day job. As Mark said before, you don't have to change it. If you love your job, you can still keep your job and run the rent-to-rent business as a side business. Yeah? I used at the beginning this strategy to produce enough cash flow, which then eventually replace my corporate salary and Jilly, my wife's corporate salary. And in fact, when we decided to become full-time property investor, we didn't see any difference in our bank account, which is a very reassuring position to be, because if you don't have any financial stress, you can think more clearly. Yeah? Then again, this strategy is for you if, as an example made by Mark, you still like to keep your job because you love it. There are a lot of people who love their current job, but you want to work on something that is going to allow you to accumulate enough money then to purchase your own portfolio. So your day-to-day job will give you the money to fuel your lifestyle, and then the rent-to-rent business will allow you to create this lump sum that you will eventually need to purchase your first, second, and third property to build your own portfolio. However, I've got some bad news for you guys. Rent-to-rent is not passive income strategy. You need to work on it. And you don't need to spend a lot of time. When I started with Jilly, we used to dedicate at least 10 hours a week working on this business. So if you have zero time, it's not a strategy with you, because you need to manage the property. You cannot outsource the management of the property as you would do with your own portfolio. So you need to be on top of it. But you don't need a lot of hours to do it. As I said, with only 10 hours a week, we manage eventually to replace two pretty big corporate sellers. Okay?
So those of you that are listening, how many of you, well, who couldn't spare 10 hours a week to do this? Is there anybody? So I'm guessing from the lack of answers, that's all of you can spare at least 10 hours a week. How many of you think that the rent-to-rent strategy could potentially be for you? Raise your hand or just type in the chat.
Don't be shy. We will not judge you on this.
Hi, Ned. No, you wouldn't need Elizabeth. Sorry, Elizabeth. If you had 2 properties, you wouldn't need 20 hours. No, this is 10 hours a week based on Giuseppe's portfolio when he started. And I think, what was it? How many was it in your first year, Giuseppe?
5. So 5 properties.
5 properties part-time.
Yeah. So as Mark said, it's not simple because you need to give up on your free time in the evenings, weekends, but eventually you can, if you want, you can leave your job and replace the income from your job with the income from this strategy with a fairly small investment, which I'm going to talk about later in the slide.
And if giving up 10 hours a week for 1 year, maybe 2 years for something that's going to change your life, then I would hope that as you're tuned in this evening, that means you're motivated to help actually change your life. And that's what this strategy can actually do.
Excellent.
Okay.
So here there is a very simple example of a rent-to-rent deal. So we are talking about a 5-bedroom house. The asking price is £1,600 per month. We managed to reduce the price to £1,300. And then during our training, we will teach you how we managed to reduce the price from the asking price to the price you are going to really to pay. So you have got this 5-bedroom house that now you are paying £1,300 to the landlord. And what you are going to do then, you are going to rent each of the other 5 bedrooms at, in my example, £460 per bedroom. And this will give you a total gross income of £2,300. So the difference between £2,300 and £1,300 is your gross margin. To that amount, you need to deduct the operating expenses, and that will lead you to profit before tax. In example made by Mark before, the profit before tax was £500. So the real trick, and I will show you some example later, showing some floor plan, is really to be able to maximize every square foot of the house and make sure you can create as many bedrooms as you can legally, obviously. Okay? So, which are the key ingredients for success? And this is based on our experience and also on talking with other people who run a rent-to-rent business. The first one, which is one of the most important ones, it is really important that everyone involved in a rent-to-rent deal, so the landlord, yourself, your customers, your tenants, have got a win-win situation. Everybody needs to be happy about this deal. If any of those 3 people are not happy, eventually this deal will break and you will not be able to run a successful business. So sometimes people try to be a little bit greedy and try to get a little bit more money from the tenants than they should be doing, or get a reduction of rent from the landlord that is a little bit too much. You might get it at the beginning, but then in the long run, one of them will not be happy. Then, in case of the tenants, will leave, which means it's more work for you because you need to find a new tenant. Or in the worst case scenario, even your landlord will ask at the end of the contract to get the house back instead of renew the contract for an additional 1, 2, 3, or 4 years. Yeah. So make sure that everyone is happy here, and let's not be greedy. The second one, which is even more important, is the type of market you choose. So the vast majority of the people will run their business, specializing in a general market. So if you look on Spare Room, which is the portal where usually HMO rooms get advertised, if you look at Bristol today, there are probably more than 1,000 rooms advertised. If you flick through them, I can promise you that the vast majority of them will look exactly the same. There is no difference between them. And that means that those properties, those rooms will not stick into the head of somebody who's looking for a room. So you really need to find a niche market to be able to differentiate yourself from other people. In my example, in my case, my and Gilly case, we specialize in professional coming from Italy, Spain, France, Germany, and Japan, because we can speak all those languages. And what we do is we talk to them in their native language. And most of the times we talk to them when they are still in their own countries. And the fact that we can speak their own language, we can explain the contracts in their own language, is assuring them a lot about the choice of their house. Now, obviously, Brexit and coronavirus are not really helping us at the moment. But I'm sure that in the long term, in the long run, we still a very valid and solid business. But what I mean is really choose a market you like, where you differentiate from the vast majority of everyone, and you will be able to stay in that market much longer than the average people. Then the third ingredient is really in a rent-to-rent strategy, you need to think out of the box. What you need to do is when you see a house, when you see a floor plan, you really need to think how you can utilize every single square foot of that house. Because if you decide to get a house and just utilize it as it is, and without increasing the number of bedrooms, very, very likely your margin will not be big. So really you need to think carefully how to use it properly. And the last one is never give up. If you ask my wife and my two young kids, probably these are the three most words that I use most of the times. Working properties is can be an emotional roller coaster. There are a lot of ups and downs, but based on my experience doing this job for a long, long time, is if you have got a solid business with all the key ingredients I've been talking about in the last 5 minutes, eventually you will succeed. Even if sometimes it will look really doom and gloom, eventually it will succeed. So never give up. Okay? So a lot of people ask me, why do I love Rent2Rent? Well, the first one, as I mentioned already, you just need a small investment to kick it off. As an average, you need no more than £3,000. There are examples, and I will show you an example later when we had to spend more, but we'll show also examples where we spend much less than that. Now, what I mean is, if you want to buy a property, and I'm talking about in the south of England, you need £100,000 to pay for a deposit and the refurbishment of the house. With a rent-to-rent, with as little as a few £1,000s, you can start cash flowing on a property. You can control a property and get the out of it. Yeah. And that means, obviously, that the return on cash investment, so how much your cash that you invest at the beginning works, is very, very high. If you think that at bank, if you put your money in a bank, you get, what, 1, 2, 3%? Here we are talking about 3 or even 4-digit percentage. Yeah? So it's really a great way to make your money work as hard as you can. Yeah? And because of all of that, obviously, your investment payback time is not very high. In my business, we have got a cutover of 6 months. If it takes more than 6 months to get the money back, usually, unless it's an extraordinary situation, we will not accept to go ahead with that rent-to-rent deal, because I don't want to work more than a half of the first year just to repay back my investment. But if you think broadly, if you invest in a property you want to buy, it will take much longer than 6 months to get the payback of the investment. So again, you invest some money, you get a great return on that cash investment, and you recover that money, that investment, very, very quickly in a few months. Yeah, and obviously because all of that, you can scale it up very quickly. Mark show you a model that we use where every 2 months you get a new property, and by the end of this 12 months you can control 6 properties without needing to have £100,000 investment. And the other thing that most of the people tend to forget is Rent2Rent on HMO is let me say, a cheap way to learn how to manage an HMO. Because if you think an HMO, the operational activities, so the day-to-day activities of a rent-to-rent HMO or an HMO that you own is exactly the same. Yeah, so you manage that property exactly in the same way. The beauty with rent-to-rent is you learn with a small investment how to manage an HMO. And in the case where you think, well, actually, I tried HMO to manage HMO, but I really don't like it. You can get out of this kind of business fairly cheaply. So your investment is not very high, so your regret cost is not very high. Okay? So these are the key reasons why I love Rent2Rent. So, as I've learned during my mentoring program, I always attach a goal or a task to any strategy that I use. So for Rent2Rent, in my case, I attach to this strategy 4 goals. So in phase 1, I wanted to replace my salary and Gilles' corporate salary. And as I said several times already, we managed to achieve that. In phase 2, we want the cash flow from our rent-to-rent portfolio to fuel our lifestyle. And now that has become fairly big, we can use some of that cash flow also to build our own portfolio. So we are saving some money out of the rent-to-rent cash flow, and every few months or whenever we need, we use that lump sum to purchase a new property for our portfolio. In phase 3, which according to my Excel spreadsheet is in 2022, we will be able to have built all our own portfolio, and so our own portfolio will give us the money to fuel our lifestyle. And so all the money, all the cash flow that is coming out of the rent-to-rent portfolio, we will use it to pay down the debts of our portfolio. Because obviously the goal of every property investor is to have a debt-free portfolio. And the last phase is, as I said, have a completely debt-free portfolio, and eventually we can sell our rent-to-rent business and eventually be on a sun lounge on the beach and enjoy our life. Okay, so this is my and Gilles' idea on how to use it, and we are executing it. What is important for you guys is you need to decide how you want this strategy to work for you, for your life, for your lifestyle. Okay. So the other question that I get asked a lot of times is, why should a landlord accept to sign a rent-to-rent deal? Why don't they just manage the property themselves? Where are you adding value to them? So the first reason why a landlord should accept our rent-to-rent offer is because when we agree a rent, monthly rent to the landlord, that rent is net, so it's always the same. As in our case, we always cover the ordinary maintenance. Yeah? And also, because it's a long-term contract, there are no voids. So every single month, the landlord will have the security to receive always the same amount of money. Obviously, the exception is if there is some extraordinary maintenance. For extraordinary maintenance, we usually mean that there is a structural issue in the house. Most of the times it's the boiler or the roof or the windows. And the other thing is, because we are the manager of the property and we manage and pay for the maintenance, we manage the tenants, the landlord will not receive any calls from tenants or agencies, because if you think, if the landlord use a letting agency to manage their own portfolio, if there is a maintenance issue, the agency must call the landlord to get that cost authorized. In our case, because we pay for that cost, we will not need to call the landlord. So the landlord can be on that sun lounge, like in my previous example, and without getting any calls from us. Usually, we agree on a long-term contract. The vast majority of our deals are 3 years deals. Usually, we've got 1 or 2 years break clause, which gives at the beginning a lot of reassurance to a landlord. Because if you go there, and as most of the people teach, say, get a 5 years deal with no break clause, put yourself in the shoes of a landlord. They've just met you, and they are asked to sign a contract for 5 years. You never know what's going to happen in 5 years. Circumstances change, they might not like you, or you might not like them. Yeah, so it's very, very important that you have got an escape route, and we usually have got that through a break clause contract. A lot of they can forget about their property because they will always receive the same amount of money. Yeah. Sometimes, in fact, most of our cases, we do also light refurb, and we also furnish it with nice furniture. So when we give back the house, most of the times we are going to give back the house which is in a better status than it was when we got the keys a few years before. Yeah. So, and that's very important for the landlord, because that is an asset for them. They invest a lot of money, and they want to make sure that that asset is taken care in the right way. And as you can imagine, this is totally hassle-free for the landlord, yeah, which is the key thing for a property investor. They want to have passive income. We also take care of the house because we send our gardener on a regular basis, and we also send a cleaner every 2 weeks. Obviously, the role of the cleaner is to clean, clearly, but also this person will be our ears and eyes in the house. So with a normal letting agent, the letting agents will go in the house to do an inspection every usually 3 months. In our case, somebody will go into the house every 2 weeks. So if anything goes wrong, it's maximum 2 weeks that this thing has gone wrong on. So, and this is something that really gives a lot of assurance to our landlord, because we say we basically do an inspection for the common areas every 2 weeks. And last but not least, there are no fees. And this is the other difference with the letting agents, because usually letting agents charges fees. So as you can see here, there is not very much that a landlord can say that he doesn't like. Yeah. The only thing that can break a deal is if you offer an amount of money that the landlord will not accept. Yeah. Okay. So, what type of property usually work? Yeah. Generically speaking, we always look for a 4+ bedrooms with 2 reception rooms, and ideally we want it to be near or close to transport links or where they work. And also we want the house to be close to shops. It doesn't need to be a Waitrose, as long as there is a shop where they can do some shopping, last minute shopping is important. In our case, in my and Gilles' case, the vast majority of our tenants don't have a car, but that's our business. There are a lot of other people running Rent2Rent where their customers have got cars. So for us, it's very important that the house is strategically located near a bus station or a train station so that they can go to work or to meet their friends pretty easily. Yeah? The other thing that my work is open plan. So sometimes when you have got only one reception room, but you have got a massive kitchen, you may want to turn that massive kitchen to kitchen and dining room so that then the reception room can be turned into a bedroom. Yeah, and I'll show you later an example where we did exactly that. Sometimes, and that's an example we'll show you later, there are also some bigger refurbs. So if it's really big, so if we are replacing kitchen, bathroom, and so on, you should not forget that it's not your house. So you need to ask the landlord to pay for it, because when you're going to give the keys back to your landlord, you will not be able to take with you the newly refurbished kitchen or bathroom. The kitchen and bathroom will stay there. Yeah. So, but sometimes it's part of the negotiation. Yeah. And there are cases where I've seen landlords accepting to do refurbs to make the house fit for a rent-to-rent deal. Okay. Feel free to ask questions, write question on the right panel if you have got any doubts.
Got a few questions, Giuseppe. I think we'll probably hold those till we get to the questions part. I think there's a few mounting up now, so we'll save them for then.
Okay, brilliant, excellent. Okay, so now you remember I said that you really need to maximize the space in the house. So I'll show you some floor plans and how we turn them around a little bit to get as much as we could from those houses. So this is a house where when we got it, we had 4 bedrooms, 1, 2, 3, and 4, with 1 dining room, 1 kitchen, and with 1 very energy isolated conservatory. Yeah. And what we did is we really want to get to 5 bedrooms. So what we did is we turned the kitchen into kitchen diner. Yeah. So because the kitchen is so big, we managed to put there also a dining room. We saw then replace the dining room with bedroom number 5. And then the conservatory has become what we call the relax room. Yeah. So there is a sofa there where people can spend time together. So as you can see, without doing any structural works, we managed to add an additional bedroom, and that additional bedroom is allowing us to make much more money if we had kept the house as it was when we got the keys. This is another example. In this case, there are 3 bedrooms upstairs. There is a small study, bedroom number 4, but with the new legislation, bear in mind that new legislation says that the minimum size of a bedroom must be at least 6.5 square meters. This room is not lettable as a bedroom. Yeah? And then downstairs, you have got a kitchen, a dining area, and a lounge. So what we did is we asked permission to the landlord to build a stud wall, which is this line here in blue, with a door. And so we managed to turn this bottom part of that big room in bedroom number 4. Yeah. So in this way, we moved from a 3-bedroom to a 4-bedroom. And the other thing we did is, you see this little study here I mentioned before, because it cannot be let, we are renting it as additional room for bedroom number 3, which is the smallest one. So this room could be used, it depends on the tenants we got there, it could be used as a walk-in wardrobe or as a study, so you can have a desk and a chair, or we had once tenants where they put a nice sofa with a television, so they use it as their own living area. But basically, you need to get cash flow from every single square foot of your house to maximize your margins. Okay. This is another example. Again, we've got 3 bedrooms here, and then we've got a utility room, a kitchen in the middle, reception room, dining room, and living room. We want to turn it into a 5-bedroom house. So what we did is we turned the reception room in bedroom number 4. Then we asked permission again to the landlord to create a small stud wall and add a door here. And then the dining room then was turned into bedroom number 5. So as you can see, from 3-bedroom house, now we've got a 5-bedroom house. And obviously our margins are much, much bigger than they would have been if we had left the house as it is. And this is the last example. In this case, originally there was 4 bedrooms. They are all up here, yeah. And then downstairs we've got what was a study, but still a pretty big room, a big dining room, and a lounge and a kitchen, yeah. Bear in mind that people tend to stay in HMO, they tend to stay in their bedroom. You don't need a massive living room for them because they are not spending a huge amount of time all together in a living room. So what we did is we turned this room into a bedroom, and then we turned the lounge into a bedroom, which is a massive bedroom here. And then what was the study, we turned it into a living room. So the tenants still got a communal area, kitchen, dining, a living room, but then we managed to get 2 additional bedroom here. Yeah. So I hope that with these examples, I gave you some food for thought on how really to maximize the space in the house. Yeah. And now, what I would like to do is to give you some real example of some of our portfolio and what we did to those houses. Yeah, and I'll show you also some real numbers on profitability of those houses. Yeah. So this is a house in Ashgrove Avenue in Bristol. When we got it, it was a 5-bedroom licensed HMO for 5 people with 2 full bathroom, kitchen, dining, living room, and because the license was just for 5 people, we have to rent it to 5 single people. Structurally, there was nothing to be done, but it was a very shabby house, and it was full of clutter. Can you see here? It was full of rubbish and so on. So what we did is we changed the furniture, we declutter it, and now can you see, without spending a lot of money, now this looks like a very luxurious house. So you don't need to spend a huge amount of money to turn something that looks rubbish into something that looks beautiful. The other thing you may see here, we use usually for our photos this mattress cover, which is dark orange. And the reason why we do that is because, again, back to my example on spare room, if you have got something that stands out, like color-wise, like this one here, people will remember it. We'll say, oh, this is the house with the red mattress cover. Okay, so let's look at the numbers in this case. We had an initial investment of £2,500, which is just to buy furniture. And this was, we got this house through a letting agent. So part of this £2,500, there is also an agency fee there. And if you look at the profitability, we get from the 5 tenants £2,450 rental income. We pay to the landlord £1,450. the cleaner cost us £48, and then we pay utilities £293. Right. And this gives us a gross profit of £659 per month. Obviously, if there are some maintenance issues, this number will decrease. But usually we try to look for and accept only houses that look very solid and potentially maintenance free. Just one comment about utilities. Most of our people do rent-to-rent. Rent their rooms as all-inclusive, so every single utility is included. And for utilities, you need to take into account council tax, gas, electricity, TV license, water, and internet. Internet is the most important thing because everybody in this time, if they don't have a fast internet connection, they will keep mourning all the time. Gilly and I use a slightly different model. We don't pay gas and electricity. We ask the tenants to pay for gas and electricity, and the only reason why we are doing this is because all the other bills are a fixed cost. So, for example, internet, we usually get a contract with the Virgin Media, and as an average costs £28 per month. It's fixed. It's a limited usage, and so that cost will never change unless Virgin Media increases the price. With gas electricity, is a variable cost, so it depends on how much gas electricity they use. It can go up and down. And so we don't want to micromanage our tenants, and so we ask them to pay for it. So if they want to increase the heating to 30 degrees, open the windows and go to the pub, they can do it. They're going to pay for it. So it's not my problem. But that's our model. As I said, a lot of people offer the rooms as all included, and some people also use some clause in the contract with the tenant capping this utility. So they say we cover gas, electricity up to X amount of money per month. If you use more gas, electricity, we will charge the excess of that cost towards amongst all the tenants in the house. Yeah, so everybody police each other. So that's another way to do it. But you need to choose the model that fits better with your idea of running the business. This is another house. This was a house that I got after I sent a lot of letters to all the HMO landlords, licensed HMO landlords. So as some of you might know, if you own a licensed HMO, your name as a landlord is in a list that is given by the council. So you can access that list freely. So you can download it sometimes from the council website, or you can call them. They send you usually an Excel spreadsheet. The beauty of that is there is the name, surname of the landlord, and the address where the landlord lives. So you can then send letters to that specific landlord, make your proposal on a rent-to-rent. So when I started working on rent-to-rent, I sent a lot of letters, and one of them was sent to Jonathan, who is the landlord of this property. And when I sent that letter, Jonathan used to rent this property to the council. And when I opened the door is here, yeah, and this is the landing. I still remember on the fourth step here, it was a nappy, which was a used nappy, open on the stairs because there were few moms with young kids living there. So that was the status of this house. So the landlord is a portfolio landlord. and he reached a point where he was very, very tired of seeing his property being dilapidated in this way. And so when I sent him a letter saying that I'm going to take care of the property, we'll also slightly refurbish it and make it beautiful, and the assets will increase in value because it's not going to be dilapidated every month, every year. He was very happy. In fact, we have got now with this landlord 4 properties, and we are still doing business with him. So this is a 5-bedroom license HMO, but as you will see very soon, the loft room is massive. So this is licensed for 6 people. So what we can do is in the loft, we can have a couple or 2 friends or brother and sister or whatever. There are 2 full bathrooms. There is a separate kitchen, diner, and living room. And as I said, we did a light reform. So this is the way we turn it. Yeah. So you remember it starts with the nappy. So we replace the carpet here, and then we replace this carpet with laminate floor. This looks like a different house. Upstairs in the loft, we just declutter it, and we have got now 2 nice beds. And if you can see here on the left, there is a sofa, and you cannot see it, but opposite the sofa, there is a wall, and that wall there is a television. So this becomes almost a studio flat, yeah? And that's what we are renting to 2 people. So as you can see here, without making a huge amount of investment, we turn a really rundown property into a nice property. So let's look at the numbers. Yeah. So sorry, just a second. Take this one away. Yeah. So initial investment, £4,000, which includes the furniture and the refurb, a small refurb, as I mentioned before. The rental income is £2,575 per month. We pay to the lender £1,450. We pay the cleaner £48 again, and the utility, again, excluding gas, electricity, £280 per month, which gives us a gross profit of almost £800 per month, unless we've got some maintenance issue. So as you can see here, the return on cash investment is massive. It's 239%, and we recover this investment in just 5 months. Yeah, who will not be happy with the £800 a month on a single property? Yeah, you don't need that many to get to a position when you can, if you want, replace your monthly salary. Yeah. Let's give another example. This one here was a house that was in much worse situations. Yeah. So this is a house that we had to do much more work. Yeah. We need to repaint it. We needed to change all the carpets that look horrible. And unfortunately, we had to give up on this beautiful purple wall, turn it into white, which is the favorite color of my wife when we paint properties. Yeah. So 5-bedroom licensed HMO in prime location, and we have got 2 full bathroom and a separate kitchen diner again, and the living room, and we rent it to 5 singles. And we turn all of this into this beautiful house. Yeah. As you can see here, this one, we change every single carpet into this laminate, and then we put nice furniture in there, and we turn all the color walls into white walls. This looks pretty elegant, and everybody's very happy to live here. Yeah. So in terms of investment, because we have to do a slightly bigger refurb, we spend £6,500 between furniture and refurb. We get a rental income of £2,995. We pay to the lender £1,700. The cleaner is always £48, and the utility is £372. And the gross profit is almost £900 per month. So again, great profit per month, which gives us a return on cash investment of 161%. And the payback time is slightly longer than our our limit, which is usually 6 months. But the reason why we decided to go ahead with this one is because we agreed a fairly long contract with the landlord, and we knew we were going to make a good gross profit per month. Yeah. And this is the other, the opposite situation than the previous one. This is a house where we didn't need to do any refurb. It was already furnished. So as you can see, it's a beautiful, beautiful house. It's a 4-bedroom house. We usually, as I said, we want to turn it into a 5 or 6 bedroom, but this is so beautiful and elegant that we decided to go ahead anyway, despite it was only 4-bedroom house. 1 bathroom, 1 separate kitchen down in the living room, and we rented to 4 single people. We spent only £500. The vast majority of that is what we pay to the agency as a tenant finder fee, and then a little bit of money for soft furniture only. You can see the return on cash investment is 4 digits, more than 1,000. So let's look at the rental income, 2,150. We pay to the lender £1,100, the cleaner £48, utilities 372, again without gas, electricity. We make as a gross profit every month £630. It's not our best cash flowing house, but because we didn't need to do basically anything in that one, it was a very easy decision to take and say, yes, let's go ahead, despite it's not the best one. Yeah. So if you look, cash flow summary for only 4 properties, yeah, all these 4 properties, in total, they are giving us almost £3,000. That, as Mark said in the beginning, is usually much higher than the average salary in the UK. So you don't need to have a massive amount of a very big portfolio to replace the average salary in the UK. Yeah?
Okay.
Over to you, Mark. I hope you found it really interesting. Mark, over to you.
Yep, I'm just so hopefully you can see. Can you see my screen?
I can. Yep.
Yep. Okay. So before we get on to how we can help you, let's just go through some of the questions here, because there's been a few piling up whilst you've been chatting away, Giuseppe. So there was a question from Giuseppe.
Sorry, what carried that?
That's all right. From James, which came up whilst you were on, asking if it was for him because he already has a small portfolio of properties that he owns, or is it really only worthwhile if you're just starting off? And my answer to that was, I suppose it just really depends. It can be for anybody. It doesn't have to be for people that are just starting out. It certainly is an ideal starting out strategy, but there are a number of experienced investors, including myself, who actually also do rent to rent. So I think it's open to anybody. A couple of questions here. There's one from Natasha. Says, how do you change or alter a property to maximize the space if you don't own it?
Yeah, you need to ask if you do structural jobs, or if you change the color of the walls, or you replace the floor with something else, you need to ask permission to the landlord. What I found is usually the changes I suggest will make the house much more beautiful than it is now. So it's very rare that a landlord says no to our proposal. And if we are talking about stud walls, as in my example in the floor plans, the beauty with a stud wall is that it can be put up very, very easily and cheaply. But then when you give the keys back to the landlord, if the landlord doesn't want that stud wall to be there, you can remove it again pretty quickly and cheaply and give the house as it was before. So, but always ask permission, written permission to your landlord.
Yeah, exactly. Just got to bear in mind, guys, that it's not your house. You're not buying it, so not the same rules don't apply. So Pella's asking, what are the average maintenance costs monthly for a 5-bed HMO? In your experience, what would you say?
Well, in my experience, because we choose the right properties, my maintenance cost is less than 2% a year. So these are the costs. So at the beginning, I used to choose pretty rundown properties with a lot of maintenance. Now that I've got the experience, I just get houses where there is almost no maintenance cost. So it's really important the type of property you choose. There are months where we don't have any maintenance costs at all.
Okay. Erica is asking, is the month 1 payment to the landlord the same as the month 36 payment, or is there some inflation linking?
Usually depends what you agree with the landlord. In my cases, for the full length of the contract, the rent stays the same. And then what we say is at the end of the contract, when we sit down to eventually renew it, we can look at the market as it is at that moment, and we might agree to increase the rent. Yeah, but there are also cases where you will ask to decrease the rent because there is a recession maybe, and all the prices have gone down. But yeah.
Okay. So Peter, the examples have 1 bathroom for 5 bedrooms. Is this practical? Well, I think I'll answer part of it. I mean, so you say as well, Giuseppe. By law, you need to have 1 bathroom for every 5 occupants. That's essentially what the regulations state. But what's your kind of opinion, Giuseppe?
Yeah, well, that was an exception. Usually, my limit is 1 bathroom for 4 people. If you can get 1 bathroom every 3 people, you make your life much easier. But sometimes, if the house has got only 1 bathroom and there are 5 bedrooms, you can do it. It will take a little bit longer to fill the house, to keep the people in the house, because it's a little bit more inconvenient.
Yeah. Okay. Pella again. What's the turnover of tenants? How much do I put aside for empty rooms?
Well, again, if you've got the right property and you are in a niche market, you will know that the room is going to be vacated 1 month in advance. Yeah, because the tenant is obliged to give you at least 1 month's notice. So if you got the right product with the right house, it's very likely you will have a void. Usually, trainers tell that you need to accrue between 5 and 10% of the income for voids. Personally, I can't remember, honestly, when was the last time I had a void in my house, in my portfolio, and we have got a lot of rooms. Yeah.
Question from Vibev. How much minimum money do we need to invest to start with?
As I show you, in the best case scenario, like the last house I show you, you needed £500. Yeah. In the worst case scenario, my portfolio, I had to spend £6,500. So as an average, I would say if you've got between £3,000 and £5,000, you are in a very safe situation. You would be able to get the houses you want.
Another question from Pella. 15 minutes from Herts University, any experience with student lets? I certainly have experience with student lets, Pella. It's the model I like because students are usually on at least a 12-month contract. Some landlords do 11-month contracts. And they're looking for rooms well in advance of the university year. So it's something you need to plan properly if that's a target market you're going to go for. But yeah, pretty good one. Fairly profitable. Of course, there is no council tax with students for one, so that's something you don't have to pay. And as with Giuseppe was explaining a little bit earlier, what we've done is the students actually pay the utilities as well, so it's even more profitable. Tony's asking about what about lender restrictions for landlords insurance, and HMO license?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So when you discuss this contract with the landlord, if there is a mortgage on the house, you must ask the question to the landlord as, have you got permission from your mortgage lender to rent the house as an HMO? And the legislation said that as long as you have got a written answer as yes, you are covered. You don't run any risk. We go the extra mile. I don't accept just a yes from the lender. I want to see written evidence from the lender that the lender is allowed to do that, because in the worst case scenario, if the lender finds out that his client is breaching the contract, the lender will be in trouble, obviously, but you will be forced to give back the house to the lender or to the lender. So you will lose your business. Yeah. So you really want to see a written proof from the lender that he or she can rent the house as an HMO.
Okay. Running a bit out of time here, so I'll look at another couple of questions before we continue. Where are we? So Nizam, how can I choose between two very good gold mine areas that are both local to me? What can be the deciding factor? It's not a simple answer to that one, I don't think. I think with a bit of, certainly you need a bit of guidance, Nizam, to decide. One thing you could do, just as an initial investigation, is just look on Spare Room, look at the number of rooms available versus the number of people that are looking. That will tell you whether that's a potentially good gold mine area. Giuseppe, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, no, I would definitely do that test at the beginning, but it's a good problem to have, to choose between two very good gold mine areas. I will not be very worried about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Pella, I think that question about HMRC tax payments and so on is beyond the scope of this webinar. That's really a question for an accountant, but that's something that if you want us to help you with, we can do. Is there anything else here? Tony, the right legal contract. I think, yeah, there are a number of different types of contracts, Tony, to be used between yourself, the tenant, obviously yourself, the landlord, and maybe if there's an agent involved. Again, beyond the scope of this webinar this evening, we're going to run out of time, but certainly something that we could help you with. Okay, I think probably for the majority of the questions, I apologize if I've not got down to your question, but I'm just looking at the time. We've just got a couple of other things that we want to cover. So, how can we help you? How can Property Master Academy help you? Well, firstly, let me just share with you a few other people that we've worked with that have been on a mentorship program. Giuseppe obviously was one of those people a few years ago, has progressed quite really well. But Viv and Ray Mitchell were probably the very first people that we taught back in 2014. Had no real property experience, both from South Africa, couldn't get mortgages in the UK, so the rent-to-rent strategy was ideal for them. And it took them probably, I think it was about 3 months to get going. And in month 4, they suddenly had 4 properties all at once, and things took off. And in their first 12 months, they had managed to achieve over £12,000 per month net cash flow. All right, that's after all the expenses you've heard about, the council tax, utilities, and so on. So that's £12,000 net per month. Now, I should add, they were near as damn it full time, I would have said, from the get go. The next couple, though, Laura Bellamy and Laura Belcher, as you can see, both young women, joined the mentorship program in 2015, the same year as Giuseppe.
Yeah, they were in my group. Yep.
They were in your group, weren't they? Now,
yep.
I've been talking to them recently. They're currently achieving just over £5,000 per month, still doing it part-time, and that's on 9 properties. So they're still doing this part-time after 5 years. They both have full-time jobs. Laura Bellamy, the blonde lady you can see there, works in her father's business, which is a building company, and Laura Belcher has another business that she's involved in. So this is very much part-time, and they're getting that £5,000 per month. So it shows you that from full-time to part-time, the rewards are kind of matched. If you're prepared to put the time in, you can see the rewards are there, but just on part-time basis. And this was very part-time. These were probably the youngest people that we've ever taught when Laura, the blonde Laura, I call her, joined our mentorship program. I think from recollection, she was 19 years of age. So it just shows you age is not a restriction. Going back to Viv and Ray, who are now, I think they're now 60. So both ends of the spectrum there. So there's an opportunity. Let us help you grow your rent-to-rent property business to 4 figures per month. And that might be one, more likely 2 properties. Could be 3 properties, 4 properties, because 4 figures a month, let's face it, goes all the way up to £9,999 per month, doesn't it? So there's potential there to actually do that, but we can help you do that. Or from 4 figures to 5 figures per month, because again, that is achievable. Just showing you that with Viv and Ray. So we're running a rent-to-rent discovery day. For anyone that's interested in progressing with this strategy, this is a must-attend event. On the 26th of March at the Parking Hotel, London Heathrow, from 1:30 to 5:30. And you know what? It's free. No charge whatsoever. All we ask for is a £99 refundable deposit. Okay? So you turn up, you get your £99 back. So it's a totally free event. In fact, talking to Giuseppe a little bit earlier, we're probably going to have to start a little bit earlier because we've got so much to get through in that afternoon. So Rent2Rent Discovery Day. What are we going to cover? Talk about the legislation. We're going to talk about the setting up of your rent-to-rent business, how you find your gold mine area, finding and choosing the best deals, utilizing agents, but also direct to landlord, analyzing the deal, how to make sure that you actually are taking on a deal that's going to work, choosing the right client, customer, tenant, and the secrets to maximizing the returns from each and every deal. How to manage the very best HMOs. As Giuseppe said, it's a good way of learning to manage HMOs if that's a strategy you're going to do later on when you're going to buy your own HMOs. And in fact, Rent2Rent is a very good lead-in, not just to the managing side, but to buying as well, because if you understand the Rent2Rent strategy properly, you can potentially build in a buying clause later on, and it's something we can teach you how to do. And obviously how to scale and run as a business. Giuseppe now has a fully fledged Rent2Rent business producing a substantial turnover now, as you heard earlier, that covers both or replaced, Giuseppe's and Gilly's previous corporate salaries. The mentorship program. What we will do on the Discovery Day, a lot of content there, but we will also introduce you to our mentorship program for those of you that are interested. The mentorship program is designed to take you from where you are now to get you to some success in Rent2Rent and starting to build your portfolio. If that's something that you're interested in, it's a free afternoon, subject to your £99 refundable deposit. And again, here are the details. 26th of March, Parking Hotel, London Heathrow. So it's more likely we're probably going to start a bit earlier, midday, 12:30. Price is free. It's no catch. It is a refundable deposit. We just ask for £99 just to make sure you turn up. Nature of free events is a lot of people don't turn up. They commit to coming, but then because they've not paid anything, they don't turn up. So £99 is there, and it will be refunded on the day to you. If that's something you're interested in attending, then there is the URL link right at the very bottom, which I will type into the the chat box right now. Let's just see if we can do that. Okay, so you should all have the URL link there now in your in the chat box. It was an answer to one of the questions. It was the only way I could do it. I hope you can see that. We will also send you a link as well. I should say that numbers on this day are very, very limited. We don't have the capacity to take 30 people, 20 people. The maximum we're really looking for is 10 to 15 people in that day. So if you are interested in attending, please book your place, ideally today, but latest tomorrow, because as soon as the spaces are filled, that is it. We're only looking for a small number of people. That's it, ready for this evening's presentation. If you've got any more questions, more than happy to look at them for the last couple of minutes. But for those of you that have to go now, I want to thank you for your attention. Hope you found it interesting. Hope you've learnt a few things. Really hope you can make this Discovery Day. Really look forward to seeing you there. I want to work with all of you, or as many as we can do, to help progress your property investing journey. And I think from what you've seen this evening, it is achievable to help you achieve your goals. Anything else you want to add, Giuseppe?
No, I just hope that you got a flavor of this strategy. And as Mark said, during the Discovery Day, we will go into much more detail. And I hope you enjoy it. And feel free to get in touch with me or Mark if you got further questions. You can find us on social media pretty easily.
Hi, Natasha. Yes, you can bring your partner. You don't have to pay 2 deposits. Erica, hi, Pella. Let's catch up later at another time then. And bye. Okay, guys. I think we're done. That's a wrap. So thanks very much, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Cheers.